All right. And we're back, Citizens United, with John Restaino. I'm your host on a beautiful Wednesday. Couple things before we get started. Our normal person who takes care of the message board isn't feeling too good. So Robin's at home, and but she'll be on there, messaging, answering any questions, feeding any questions to us. So if you have anything that you want to ask, feel free on the message board. Of course, great producer and part owner of this place. Wade, how's it going? Yeah, lots gotten done. Our store is open, and you can find it at Gorillas Inc., right?
Yeah,
On the Facebook page.
you can check out our store on the Facebook page. We accomplished a lot this week. So yeah, I'm really excited to see what the is doing.
And my co-host from Goal Getters is here. John, how's it going?
Good, John. Doing good tonight.
All right, good. Beautiful outside. What a traffic jam today coming down the boulevard.
Sure was.
Going both ways, too. Did you get in that, Wade? Into that jam?
No,
No?
no. I'm only on the boulevard for
Oh, that's right. You got that
sections.
one way you
Yeah.
go. Right, right. Yeah. So, all right. Well, you guys know we have a guest tonight, and he was on with us one time before, but that was right around when he first announced. So we're happy to have back Jim Perry, candidate for Niagara Falls City Council, former director of administration services at the Niagara Falls Water Board, and that is Jim Perry. Jim, how are you doing today?
I'm doing well. Thank you very much, John. Thank you.
Oh,
Nice being back.
yeah, we're glad to have you. I remember you came on at a very early. I remember it was, and I appreciate that. Right after you announced that you were going to run, so.
Yeah, it was nice to have. It was nice for you to have me on. I appreciate that. Gave me a little bit of exposure. I have to admit I was a little bit nervous. Well, you're always nervous when you get in front of a camera or you're live in front of people, but yeah, you never really get over it. Yeah.
Right. No, I know. Well, no, you'll get over it. You've been doing enough of them. I mean, you're good now. I saw you on some of those candidate forums and stuff. So, but anyway. All right, let me do this. Tell everyone, because I know we did this one time before, but now we got a new audience. And this is going to sound like a silly question, Jim, but it's who are you? Where are you from? All that. Again, who are you?
Okay. All right. Well, my name is Jim Perry. What happened is I retired a few years ago. I went I got out of the army in 1980. I was in about 10 years, and I uh, I went to work for the water department. That's when the city of Niagara Falls had a water department. Uh, I went there and I got an opportunity to go to work for a Fortune 500 company, which I did. Went for the money. Kind of stupid now when you look back at the benefits, but that's you get older, you live, you learn. So, anyways, I retired from there after 32 years, human resource manager for the Goodyear Tire and Rubber Company. I think I could mention that. If not, bleep
Right.
it out. We're live, so you can. But,
All
all
right.
right. But anyways, so then I was retired for a couple of years, and I got a call that they're having some issues at the water board, and
Right.
I was asked if I would be interested in helping them settle a contract. So I went to the water board, and I I went and I helped them. We settled the contract there.
Right.
After after this contract was settled, I didn't intend to stay on as long as I did, but there were several issues that needed to be taken care of. And as I saw more and more issues popped up, and 4 years later, I ended up retiring again,
Right.
this time uh, from the water board. Uh,
Right.
and after I was retired there for a little while, a friend called me up and said, "Hey, why don't you think about running for city council?" So here I am,
Right.
running for city council. Uh,
Yeah.
this is where we're at.
How's it been? Like all of it. I mean, this is your first. Is this your first time running for anything, or have you ran
Yes,
before? Yeah.
No, I never wanted to get into politics. Matter of fact, I remember one time in a room full of politicians, because of my experiences in the military, I made a comment about I had no use for politicians, and look where I am now.
You
I'm a
ever-
politician.
well,
So,
what do you
things
think?
happen.
What do you think of it? I mean, as I know you got to what? You'd have to raise money, I guess. You've got to go door to door. You got to go everywhere. How is it going?
Yeah.
Like that stuff.
It's it's kind of strange because being in the role that I was, the director of administrative services and human resource manager, you're always kind of playing in the background. You play behind the executive director, you play behind the plant managers, or you play behind the the managers. You're the
Right.
support guy. Now you're out in front of everybody. So you're the guy that gets hit by the tomatoes. You're the guy
Right.
that you make a quote and then later on you think to yourself, oh man, I wish I didn't say that. But the words are out, so you said it. You have to defend it now. But you live, you learn, you move on, and it's been an experience. I have to say that.
Yeah.
It's been a learning experience.
And you're
Uh,
coming down the stretch now. You're in the stretch. You're in the home stretch. Pretty much. November is the day. So, or
yes,
what's it? November 3rd? Is that it? Is that
yeah,
election
no,
day?
November 2nd. November
Second.
2nd. Yeah,
All right.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So
That one's
now.
etched in my mind.
So you are really prepared for this because just what you're talking about. Anything you say, you have to defend. I mean, that's what happens in the council. All those guys. They say something, it becomes something. Um, Being at the water board. I mean, for as long as I can remember, it was always like a soap opera. There was always
Oh yeah.
issue, and I mean the people that get appointed to it and all that stuff. It always turns into, well, it's the hub of. You were, I don't know how I'm going to say this. You were in the hub of
Absolutely right.
corruption. You were like you were right
Yes.
in the belly of the beast of corruption, and now you're going to move over if you win to the other one. City Hall is another one that is a. There's a few things we're going to get into, and then it'll make sense
Yeah.
as to for everyone out there. And I know you're going to know, and I want to hear what you think about it. Um,
Yeah.
let's start out with one issue. Let me ask you, what do you think is the city's most important, like biggest problem to address? Like, what is your biggest thing that the city needs to address?
Well, we have a couple things, and they kind of all tie in together. Because right now, on the forefront is I think, as everybody's mind, is the crime issue in Niagara Falls, and we've had more shootings and more murders, more crime in the city than we have in the history of Niagara
Right.
Falls. And I have a thought on that, and I think a lot of it is tied in together. I read the report on the Social Justice Commission. I know in one of the interviews we had, uh, they had mentioned it, and
Right.
I read bits and parts of it, bits and pieces of it, and and I made a comment about, no, I didn't read it, and I'm not going to read it because the part I just read a little bit of it, and it seemed like it was just a basic academic study.
Uh
It
huh.
was very cold academic. They really didn't get in the meat of things. And I listened to some people, how they were. Here's one of the things I learned too:
Right.
is everybody's a critic. We have more critics, more agendas in Niagara Falls than I ever believed. But
Yeah.
uh, so you listen to people and they're all critics. But then I got to reading it. I did go back and read it. I had to uh, because of all the talk, and it's a very in-depth report. It is very. Uh, I mean, they took a lot of things and looked at this report. And the more I read it, and now I'm reading it again, uh, this time a little bit in more detail and
Right.
highlighting items and things. And there are a lot of issues. So the crime is a big issue, but that ties into a lot of the economic. If you look into a lot of the economic issues, and that's across the country.
Right.
Now we talk about the crime in Niagara Falls. That's true. We do have crime in Niagara Falls. This crime is up throughout the entire country, and New York State is like number 5. Uh, so we're really high in New York State.
Right.
Uh, But I'm looking at some of the programs, and I listened to the mayor talk at Harry Abbott's school, and he has a very good approach to it. He of course he's been in the business for a while, as you know. He's been a judge.
Right.
He's been in law, and he knows it, and he has a good approach to it. He's not looking at one thing as enforcement. That there are
Right.
other things that are tied into it. So we seem to be on the right path.
Right.
It's not going to be done overnight. And then I'm looking at the plans we have, and I hate to sound, sometimes I get down because I look, I've lived in this city all my life, with the
Yeah.
exception of 10 years I was in the military, and I've heard these stories before. I'm sure you have too.
Yeah.
That developers come in, they're going to do all this stuff, and then
Right.
20 years later we're still looking at it. And
Yeah.
but it looks good, and there's some promise this time, and I'm seeing hope. Uh, I hope I'm not disappointed again, but
Right.
we seem
Well,
to be on the right track.
yeah, I mean, that's something we were going to get right into. That's good. The development situation. You know what disappoints me, and I can't wait to get your first off is Third Street. Third Street development is, well, that's been, geez, I'm thinking back in the 80s when there was a lot of bars there and clubs, and that's what was there.
Yeah.
It was kids. It seemed like a college town feel to it. Now those places are empty, but they're giving them away. I mean, I think like Donatello's and Rust, that old
Yeah.
bar, and another place was just given for $1. And I know there's some there's like $60,000 maybe worth of work. I think a broken sewer line or something inside. But still,
Mhm.
I mean, it's, and then of course the tax breaks are going to come and everything else that comes with it. God, it almost starts to feel like a dollar store down there, and I mean it in a different way. You come here, it's $1. And I don't know what to say anymore, because how do you end up getting anything for the $1? Like, what are we going to, you'll know, Jim, tell me, what do I get for that $1 that has been given?
That does bother me. That does
Yeah.
bother me too. And then I look at the turtle.
Yeah.
That's something else altogether. And I look at the casino we gave away. The right downtown in the middle of the city, the state has taken it over. And
Yeah.
the state has come and taken over. Then we gave the golf course away, which is well, okay, I'm using this term, and we didn't really give
Right.
those things away, but they're assets that we had. If we could manage them properly, we could be making a lot of money off of these things, but we're not. We were foolish. And I understand what you're saying. That frustrates me too. And those are things I want to dig into.
Yeah.
But here's something that I listened to Ken Tompkins say, and he is so dead on when he said this. He said, when he first got into office, then he got into office and he saw some things, and some opinions changed and situations changed, and everything is dynamic. And I'm paraphrasing
Right.
it, of
Right.
course, but things change, and you look at things from a different light, and of course that always happens. I remember another executive telling me one time, a friend of mine wanted to be an executive. He wanted to move up. He was already a manager, but he wanted to move up the ladder. And then I said, well, I'll help you, but remember, you're going to be sorry. You're going to be sorry, because it's not what it looks like on the surface. And then he got there, and he come back about 6 months later, and he says, boy, you're right. It's like an iceberg. He says, you get to this point, and then you see everything underneath it, and it's not what it looks like. So, it's hard for me to judge and answer that question, because I don't know what's at the end of that
Right.
road. And I don't think any of us do.
Well, I got a
But
video that I want to show you. Wait, you got it, right? But it's about only 2 minutes long. We'll watch it together, and everyone out there. It's Investigative Post. Here, you want to roll? Here, there you go.
Well, tonight we continue our You Paid For It series with some help from our nonprofit partners at Investigative Post. Now, they've been looking into a deal on 3rd Street in Niagara Falls. A state-run development corporation has given TM Montante 2 buildings valued at just under $1 million.
Yeah, the plan is that the developer will turn it into a bar, restaurant, and meeting space. State law usually prevents a deal like that from happening, but reporter Mark Shear found out the developer might get even more state money.
Developer TM Montante has applied for more than $750,000 in state and federal tax credits. It's also seeking nearly $500,000 in cash from a tourism development fund. But wait, there's still more. Montante is also asking the Niagara County Industrial Development Agency to cut its property, sales, and mortgage taxes by almost another $500,000. Add it all up, and taxpayers would fork over more than $2.5 million. And what do they get in return? 14 jobs, many of them cooks, bartenders, and waitresses. The subsidies work out to nearly $200,000 a job.
I would say it sounds like this project isn't the best way for Niagara County to invest public money.
State Senator Sean Ryan was also critical.
But why would you take one business owner and say, we're going to give you a lot of benefits, but everyone you compete against has to pay their own way? That's bad economic development.
No one from the development company or the state and local economic development agencies pushing the subsidies would go on camera to discuss the project. Off camera, they justified the subsidies, saying the law allows them for retail projects in economically distressed areas. The poverty rate in the neighborhood around the project approaches 50%. Sean Weber, who owns Wine on 3rd, a bar and restaurant across the street from the proposed project, supports the subsidies.
In an ideal world, there'd be no subsidies. You know, the rents would be high enough to cover any investment you needed to make to get the project done, but that's not the real world, especially in Niagara Falls. The real world is, if you don't get these subsidies, none of this stuff will happen.
Ryan isn't convinced.
You know, this just isn't a public benefit. This is a private gain, and this should stay where it belongs, in the private sector.
The IDA is scheduled to vote on the incentive package for the project on July 14th. For Channel 2 News, I'm Mark Shear with Investigative Post.
All right, thank you to them, of course, for that report. Jim, you saw it. What are your thoughts on all of that 2 minutes of reporting?
I've seen that a couple times, and every time I see it, I shake my head. I've been trying to be very positive and very,
Right.
very. I've tried to be very positive because I know people don't like complaints all the time, but I understand the need to help private business to some extent, and one of the things that I'm a proponent of is cutting regulations and cutting taxes, cutting things that restrain private business. But I'm really not in big favor of giving stuff to the private industry like those subsidies. But again, there has to be more to the story than what we're seeing there. I hesitate to be too critical of it because we're getting business, but it really doesn't sound like we're getting our money's worth from that stuff. But again, I'm trying to be optimistic about things.
It's hard. We've been here our whole life.
Yeah.
You know, and I think we've learned one thing. I mean, I agree. There is we're all critics, and we get negative here, but we have a good reason to be, because it's kind of messed up. We have the falls, which is water, and it's our worst enemy. I mean, we're in worse shape because when you think about it, 140 acres of land is owned by NFR, and then the Senecas own what they own. New York State owns Goat Island, so we're almost. It's like a territory down there. It's not City of Niagara Falls. Right. It feels like it's the territory of New York State and whatever. So
exactly right.
I have a hard time, and I know you do too. I know you're trying to be positive, but my goodness, when you see when you see who got Rust and Donatello's on 3rd Street. I mean, I don't need you don't need a brick wall to fall over on your head to understand.
Yeah.
I don't
Yeah.
believe that. I don't understand. How does that? There's one guy who got it that has every job in the county. He's basically, I've never seen anything like it. He's everything to everyone. I mean, Jim, these are things that I know they're negative, but you can get in there and maybe there's some way to uncover some of this stuff that we've been dying to know for 50 years.
That's one of the things that is one of the things I would like to do. I would like things to be a little more transparent, because while I was at the water board, my wife keeps criticizing me for saying, "Why you were at the water board? You did it." Well, I have to go with what I've seen, because I think I'm the only candidate that really truly has experience in the and knowing what's going on here. And I've seen things that I would like to bring to the public's view, things that go on in the city, like contractors that get special breaks, contractors that bill at rates that are over the top, that are really too much. We put out bids too late, and only certain people are in a position to bid on things, and they take advantage of that. It's not an even playing field, and I've seen this firsthand, and this bothers me. And I think there's a lot of waste. Our tax dollars, there's a lot of waste there. I have no problem with hiring your friends and your family, provided they're competent and they can do a job. But what bothers me is when I see you're hiring friends and family that can't do a job, and then you have to hire contractors to do a job that they're supposed to do. That bothers me. When I went to the water board, a lot of the guys came to me and told me, you're the first real human resource manager we've ever had in that position. You're paying all this money for these people that it's a political thing. They promote they give jobs by political paybacks.
Right.
That's wrong. You're paying for it. I'm paying for it. The citizens of Niagara Falls are paying for it. That's wrong. But like I said, it's not a perfect world, and we can only do so much.
Well,
if I can
No, go ahead.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Joe. I'm sorry.
I was going to say, if I can move the needle a little bit in the right in the right direction, then I think I've done my job. I don't think I'll be able to change an entire system. I'm not that stupid, but maybe I can do a little bit.
Right.
If I could bring it to light and people could see what's going on, then I can't do it alone. The people have to help.
Well,
so we'll see.
Real quick, and another part of development, Pine Avenue. It's called Little Italy, and I've never really was crazy about it, but it was done in the 90s. I think, God, I feel like it was like 96 with Jim Galley's group. And I think it would be a good idea. I know it's probably expensive. I'd love to take that sign down, because Pine Avenue, I'm going to be positive about Pine Avenue. Pine Avenue, and tell me what you think of this, has every kind of food you could want. Like every restaurant in the world. You got Jamaican, you've got Thai, you got Chinese, you have Italian. There might be an Indian restaurant somewhere in there. I know there's barbecue. So you could almost have it become a little, I don't know what, universe, little world. I don't know. But no,
you got the UN there.
Yeah. I don't know how we could not embrace it, I guess, Jim.
Yeah, well, there's a, that's, leave me speechless on that one. I'm Italian descent, so, but I agree with you. But that's true. I think that there's enough in this town to go around for everybody.
Right.
We don't need to promote or slam one or another nationality. Do that.
Right.
But
it's just Pine Avenue is just not. It never was. Even in the night, it really wasn't what we wanted it to be. But now, as far as Little Italy, right? And now we don't even have the festival there anymore. That whole thing is gone. And I just feel like it's almost like I know there's brochures that say we have a Little Italy in Niagara Falls, and we don't. And I think Pine Avenue. What do you think of this? Is Pine Avenue more for the residents than it is for a tourist?
You're gonna get me. You're gonna get me into another thing, John.
No,
That bothers me a
well,
lot.
here's what I think. I think it is.
All right.
I think it's only for, not only, but I think it's for the residents. Because tourists, I mean, we're fighting New York State, right? And they get funneled here and there. And we
Yeah.
how do you get them off Goat Island when almost pretty soon they're going to have everything on there you could ever want? So go ahead. I'll let you finish it.
Yeah, no, that's something else that bothers me is small business in Niagara Falls. Small business, you you know, it would be very nice if we can give small business some incentives and they could be downtown. Look at Williamsville. You know, look at those towns. They have little small businesses downtown. You don't need to have a multi-billion dollar corporation come in and move in. What's wrong with the smaller shops around there, coffee shops, smaller DiCamillo's Bakery, that's a small business.
Right.
The Como restaurant, that's a small business. Those are things to be proud of, but who goes there? The Como business, Como now, that used to be a real place of pride for people.
Yeah.
They would go there and
Uh,
with everything there.
Weddings and
Now who
everything,
goes
right?
there?
Yeah.
Yeah, and now who goes there? And people would come. I remember people would come from Rochester to go have dinner there. To spend the weekend here, and they go to the Como for dinner because they heard about it. Now, who hears about it? Who hears? Everything is downtown. It's one of the bar owners from the cell down here said the casino was one of the worst things that happened to them. And I said, why is that? It brings a lot of business in, a lot of cars. They said it sucked business out of the city and brought everything downtown. They have everything there. They don't want any competition. They
Yeah.
destroyed us.
Well, right.
And
The whole point is to keep them
no,
in the casino, Everything you could want is right there inside
yeah,
the Seneca Casino. So,
I've never looked at it like that before. And not, they're a business. Okay, I understand that. But there are a bunch of other businesses in the city too, and they deserve a break too. And to give, that's what bothers me about giving so much to one business.
right. Well, you know what we're
You look
going to
like you're going to say something.
Yeah,
Yes,
what we're going
go
to do
ahead.
here, it's about halfway through. We're going to take a commercial break here in a second. We do have a question, and when we come back, we'll have that question for you from I believe, a Facebook listener or person who's watching. But we're going to take a quick break, and we'll be back in a minute.
Sure.
Hey, Western New York, CJ Spiller here, telling everyone to watch Gold Getters live every Friday at 6 p.m., where they'll give you up-to-date sports info. It's a great show, so be sure to leave your comments below. You like how I rhyme with that?
right, and we're back, Citizens United. We are with Jim Perry, who's running for Niagara Falls City Council. And Jim, before we left, we have a question from our message board that we're gonna bring it up here in 1 second, and I'll read it off to you. Here we go. It says our city can't even set a proper garbage pickup contract. Valerie Kahn. Anything you want to say to that kind of comment?
Well, I don't know specifically what they're referring to, but
Right.
I know there have been some issues with a couple. There were a couple spots, and matter of fact, I know there were some issues with like some trash in alleys that they didn't pick up, and then I read on one of the Facebook pages where there was an issue with them going down one street, and 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 then there was trouble with the totes, and so I'm really not.
Right.
I'm not really not clear on what the question is. If they want to clarify it, maybe I can talk to it a little bit.
Okay.
I know there was one of the issues I had found out most recently was that when they put that bid out for that, it was supposed to be. I didn't realize that the totes for the recycle and the trash bins, I understand, were supposed to be the same size, and
Right.
um, and I had a laugh because I was talking to someone about it this week, and we were talking about the recycle. And one of the things that's always funny in my house is my wife is always throwing away stuff in the recycle bin, and I have to go out and take it out, put it in the trash. I said, no, that's not what they want for recycle. They want styrofoam. They don't want this. They don't want this. They want that.
Right.
And the friend of mine said, he says, I don't even know why they recycle, because there's only like a small little thing that they recycle. You have to read what it is that they
Right.
want, and most people don't. So if you want to clarify that, whoever wrote that question in, I'd be glad to comment on it if if there's a specific item in it.
Well, let me ask you this about the garbage. Well, the garbage fee. Thank God it's a fee and not a tax, because I guess they can adjust it. They say we got $59 million coming from the CARES Act, and I know I've been trying to figure. I think we kind of know what we can spend it on and not. I mean, I don't know. Other communities are using it. Do you know if it can help lower our fee? Is there any? Because the garbage fee's a killer. Because in all honesty, I noticed, obviously the landlords and the homeowners have to pay for it. The rents are going up, and median income here is like 23,000. That garbage fee was put in to save, I believe, 70 jobs in the city or something. Bill Kennedy says it all the time, that he did it because he didn't want to send 70 families home upset. And I get that, but also you got to remember like the 20,000 other families that are now, the rent's over. In Niagara Falls, we have rents that are $1,000 a month. That's crazy, Jim. So what do you think? Is there a way? Do you know anything about the CARES Act that we don't know, or how we can spend it, or what's going on?
Well, let's talk about that. Let's talk about that garbage fee, quote unquote, first before. And I was not really in favor of it. I understand it was needed at the time why it was sold to us the way it was, and I don't really. I have to look at that and say there are so many departments where money could have been cut. There wouldn't have affected anything. There are jobs. The job that goes back to what I was saying earlier. There are jobs that we have that we have to hire contractors to do the jobs that our people could do, the people that are employed by the city could do. So you have to hire contractors to do the job, and you pay the contractors. Of course, you're paying them 2-3 times as much as you're paying the people that we have that work here that can do it. Right. So that fee was supposedly to cover the cost of operating the city. In essence, that because we had a shortcoming. So they threatened to lay off the firemen, the policemen, the whoever, whatever, and they had already cut down so many people to begin with. And I know for a fact the USW had come to the table and said they wanted to help and they were willing to help, but it was kind of thrown back at them, and they had a mind. They wanted to do it a certain way, and that's the way it was going to do it. When I went to the water board again, sorry, Lynn, but but again, the water board, they could not settle the contract. The union came to the table and they said they wanted to help, and they did. You got to sit down and listen to them instead of looking at them as the enemy.
Right.
They don't have to be the enemy. They can be your friend, and they could work with you, but you have to give them a chance. And from what I've heard, and I have to take it secondhand because I'm hearing different things, the union came to the table and they were ready to and willing to work with the city and to help them, but they wanted that fee. Now, again, I'm only going from what I'm hearing from the outside. I wasn't in those negotiations, so I really don't know. I don't know what really happened, but that's what I heard. And going on my experience, I have to kind of believe them with that fee. But your answer, I went to Harry Abbott School and I listened to the mayor speak, and he was explaining, it has to be the money has to be used for specific things, and I kind of followed it, but most part. But I'm no expert there yet.
Right.
But I'm reading up on it,
so am I.
I will be.
Yeah, me too. I'm reading up on it. I'm trying to figure it out too. I mean, I know that broadband and things like that. I know, and I know the mayor talked about redoing the internet or whatever the inner workings of City Hall, like as far as modernizing it, which is probably needs to be done because it's decrepit. Yeah. What would be nice though, and maybe we wouldn't have to have a garbage fee, is if NFR might want to develop something once. Then we probably wouldn't have to have a garbage fee. We probably wouldn't have to pay our DPW guys $12. Think about it. They start at $13.50 an hour at DPW. Yeah. You can't get people to work for that. Only reason I'm saying you can't get people to work for that is because it's so low that you would have to give out a food stamp thing with people. When you give them that $13.50, they need assistance, right, to pay the $900 rent or whatever it is. So somehow, man, we got to get DPW, because that's that's our most important in my mind. Sometimes it gets overlooked, when it comes to police, fire, then you got DPW. I just think about that. They make such a little amount of money there. Guys that are CDL drivers, licensed, only making $20 an hour. That's just not worth their while.
That's correct, right.
So it's tough.
That's true. Yeah. When I went to the water board, I couldn't believe that the guys there were making $11 an hour for what they did. The outside maintenance guys for being out. I mean, I worked that job. It's not a job for the weak people. You're out there in the cold. You're out there when there's blizzards and digging and in the water. It's not a job. It's not a job you want to do for minimum wage. It really isn't. But
no,
people do it.
It's hard to keep people. It's hard to keep. That's what I'm seeing I think with Department of Public Works. Like, I remember when I was at a factory that I was at for a while, and they were paying $11.40 an hour, and the only people that would come in, unfortunately, were people who were either on parole or who were on probation. So you would have a hard time keeping people. It would just be a constant turnover, and you got to wonder why. I think the city has to start. And I don't know how they do it. Maybe the $59 million can help, but there's got to be a way. You know what I mean? Because let's talk about something about the grass cutting. That's been a big, big issue. I mean, I've heard this now over and over about grass cutting. And I heard on I think it was on the Civics Project show. Yeah, it was, where
Tim Hewitt,
him and then Councilman Tompkins. I don't know if I like this answer. Just get up and cut it. I mean, I understand what you're trying to say, but wait a minute. I don't know if I get it. Yeah. I mean, I understand the sentiment behind it, but Jim, I don't know. Should we have to? What do you think of that statement? Should we? Go ahead.
Yep, I've heard. I know exactly what you're talking about. The Zoom teams that come in
Yeah.
and cut the grass, and it's funny because some places have they have a fine if your grass is so high,
Yeah.
they'll fine you. They'll send you a letter and say you got to cut it within 30 days or you're going to be fined. And
Right.
then they'll send a team out there to cut it, and
We use
it
yes.
becomes
Yeah.
but and then you pay the fine, you pay the team to cut it, but Niagara Falls, we have a problem too with the landlords that are nowhere around. And I've heard people blame the short-term rental people for this, but that's not
Perfect.
them because
Yeah.
I know them. I know a lot of them, and it's not. They're the ones that have the houses that are nice. They're
And
they're
I'm
not
glad you
letting their
brought that
houses
up.
run down. Go
Right.
ahead.
STRs. I'm glad I was going to ask you about that because that's been such a big deal, right? It's been such a hot topic for almost a year because of all the meetings and the wanting to change the way how things are adopted and but with whether it's a majority or not and things. And then the biggest thing, right, is the zone, right? It seems like the zone is what the sticking thing is. How do you feel about that zone? I got to tell you, for me, I'm going to say this real quick. I don't have anything to do with STRs. I live in the zone, so I don't really care. But I get the zone, kind of, sort of, what the mayor was talking about there, because I've been places where there are zones, like in Orlando and in Myrtle Beach. So what do you think of the zone and that controversy that's been going on?
I understand it. Uh, I would. I I am not against regulations. That's not. I'm not against regulation to a certain extent, but when you regulate a business to where it is suffering, that's what I don't agree with. Now, for Niagara, let's say Niagara Falls. I have to wonder if there's something more behind that because look, can we do it all together? Well, I guess we can't, do it all at the same time. Why we have crime and murders on the front page, shootings almost a daily. Why are the STRs such a big topic in the newspaper? Every day I
Yes.
pick up the newspaper. There's something about STRs on there. And then there's shootings. On page 2, someone got shot. On page 1, the STR meeting. I really don't care about the STRs that much. It's a business. Okay, I get
Right.
it. Okay. You need to regulate it to some extent. I got that too. But why are we making such a big deal out of it right now? It's
Ooh.
to me, it's a not issue. It's a
I know,
non-issue.
and I got an answer, but I'm not going to say it because I don't want to say it with you here. I got a good answer as to why, but I'm not going to say it because then you'd have to react to it, and I don't want. To, but I think I know. I kind of whatever. But I let me ask you something else. If Memorial Parkway, the whole street, is a mess, and the reason I say that is because 424 Memorial Parkway was Seth Piccarello's thing. It turned into a big mess. The mayor ran on that because they just gave it away. And then, of course, they really gave it away earlier this year when the council just sent it away. 418 Memorial Parkway, there's a person who bought that at an auction for $100 that they took it away from. And now they just took it. They didn't even. Now, so then you got that 220, or I always say this wrong, 220 Memorial Parkway. That's the one at the council meeting that they lowered the assessment at the other day at the last meeting from $365,000 to $100,000, and we got to pay them back $85,000 plus interest. How do we keep? There's got to be a reason, Jim. And tell me what you think. Memorial Parkway's a mess.
Yeah, there are some things I got to keep my mouth shut about.
All right.
Yes, you're right. You're right. Let me let's go back.
Okay.
Let's go back a little bit to a couple years ago. Do you remember when Wentz Dairy wanted to expand up on Buffalo Avenue there?
Yes. Yep.
The Wentz Dairy. So
Yep.
they had a big thing. They wanted to expand it, and everybody was up in arms. No, they didn't want to expand it. No, no. Signing petitions, everybody. Because why? Because it would increase the traffic.
Right.
We're losing industry, we're losing companies, but they don't want to expand it because it would be too much traffic, but we're losing all these jobs. Okay, so once Dairy left town and they sold the building and the property to somebody
Right.
else, I think it was a Canadian firm, if I'm not mistaken. I'm not absolutely sure, but so now the Canadian firm defaults on it. Guess who owns it? The city. Guess who's responsible for it? The city. Guess who's paying for it now? The city.
City.
Because we did something stupid down the we did something stupid years ago, and I'm seeing the same things repeat themselves again and again and again and again and again. Why don't we start looking at things long term rather than short term things? And let's look at part. Oh God,
Yeah.
I'm trying. I don't want to lay blame. I don't want
Right.
to yell at people. I don't want
Well,
to start being
might need it.
pessimist about it.
Well,
But you know what? Things might look different when if I'm elected, things might look a little bit different. But if it's what I suspect it is, the public's going to know about it. I will guarantee you that.
that's good.
The public will know about it.
Because it is what we all see. I mean, how about the fact that the Red Coach Inn got a loan to pay their taxes the other day? I mean, they get $100,000. I mean, there's just too much of this going on for a place that doesn't have,
I can't understand it. I cannot understand that for the life of me. I can't understand it.
I can't either.
I just can't.
But
the
we
business
got
that they do. Yeah.
No, you're right. No, go ahead. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to cut you off.
Oh no, I just don't understand it. The business and everything that's going on down there. That's where all the business is in the city right now. It's down in that area.
And
there's nothing going on in the rest of the city.
And really, and we know that it's a real crazy place, Niagara Falls, in a lot of ways, right? I mean, we have the falls, which is an incredible attraction. We have NFR that owns everything for 25 years down there and has done nothing. We have all of this going on. So then you got the Senecas, and you've got all of this happening, and of course the state of New York working kind of against us. Not kind of, definitely with Goat Island. It's a weird spot. I don't know how. Yeah, there's the visitors center that's going to go up for $46 million also.
Yeah.
So they're doing everything they can to keep them there, which is weird. And you got to wonder why our elected officials are so happy about it. Kind of odd, but I don't know. How do we get out of it?
I can understand. I can understand them. Wanting to upgrade the visitor center down there. But you know what? We lost the convention center.
Yeah.
Without that convention center, do you know how much business we lost in the city? You can't have tournaments. I go to Vegas. Right. I think I mentioned this before. It wasn't on your show. It was on one of the other ones. But I go to Vegas. We have bowling tournaments. That brings in hundreds of thousands of dollars. Bowlers from all over the country go there. They spend a lot of money, and that's something that they have a convention center that they could do it right here in Niagara Falls, something like that. I remember they had the simple things. They had the hairdresser convention. Hairdressers came from all over the country. They went down there. They had giving up my little bit of my age here. They had Grateful Dead concerts down there. They had all kinds of things going on. You can't do that. We have a conference center.
Yeah.
What are you going to do in a conference center? You can't do that in the conference center.
No.
The state was supposed to compensate us for that convention center. That's not compensation. Come on. That conference center. That's not compensation. That's not even close to it.
No,
come on.
Yeah, it's a meeting hall, because I remember growing up, right? You go there and see wrestling, professional wrestling, WWE, WWF, whatever, and all the concerts, ACDs, all the big names would come, along with the monster trucks, all this stuff that would happen. And no, I know I remember one councilman saying when this was all going on, I think he passed away now, and I believe his last name was Morello. I remember him saying that this is the saddest day in Niagara Falls history when the convention center went away. And so yeah, I Jim, what about NFR though? I want to ask you, maybe we could build wouldn't that be nice? A nice big arena on their land. There they are again. If you call that number, they don't answer, right? 282, but whatever.
Yeah, try and rent something from them. You'll
You,
never get anywhere with them unless you're a big multi-million-dollar corporation. You probably can't even talk to anybody. But wouldn't that
yeah,
would be a good spot right there where the Nabisco plant is down there?
beautiful.
That would make a beautiful convention center. And guess
Sure.
what? It's near the casino, so they can use the casino too. We have the convention center, the casino. You got the little conference center over there for people who want their little meetings. But that would be an ideal thing. Well, we're across the street from the wastewater plant, but
Right.
who in their right mind would put a wastewater plant downtown in Niagara Falls, New York? I don't know where that came from, but
Wow.
that's another story altogether. But there are
Yeah.
solutions for that too. But
Yeah, we're gonna have to. Well,
yeah.
I know there is, and I know I just like I was stunned by this. You can tell me if you know about this. You probably don't. Maybe you don't, but because I just heard about it for the first time. I never knew if you find out there's a city property like somewhere on Elmwood Avenue, whatever, and it's it's owned by the city. I didn't know I could just walk into City Hall and say I want it, and say, you know what, Mayor, I offer $1,000, and then they write it up and it goes to the council. Whatever. I always thought it had to be an auction. Is that odd or no?
No, I heard that there is a program like that. I don't know a lot about it at the
Right.
moment. Here's one of the things I got into a discussion with a friend of mine a while ago is we go on all this, and I'm not speaking just for myself. I'm speaking about all the candidates for city council. Is we go and we talk to people about different topics. Going on a show, we never really know what we're going to talk about, and it's kind of difficult to be prepared for everything. Like when you're on the city council, you're given an agenda and you get to go and research it, and you get to find out everything you can about it, and then you can speak from an educated point of view, and on top of that, most of the time things are percolating in the background that you're hearing about before you even get to that point. But when you go on the talk shows, there's so many different things that they hit you from so many different angles. You can't be up on everything all the time. And part of the problem too is you're reading from the newspaper, and stuff of this you're seeing from the newspaper is old news, or a lot of the times you're reading things that they're biased in their opinions, or you're hearing it from other people who are biased in their opinions. So you have to be careful of that too. So I have to keep all those things in mind when I answer your questions. So just be patient with me. I'll give you roundabout answers.
Yeah, no problem. Well, like for example, I know you're all about transparency. We're not transparent anymore. I don't know why the mayor came in. He ran on transparency. He put the public information officer in, shut down everything. I've never seen a city that has all this murder and crime where I can't go and interview the chief of police. Every city in America does it. So that's going to be something that I know you'll take care, or at least try, because we got to get more transparent. We don't get to talk to anybody. As a media, we can't. The public information officer is the buffer to everything, and you can't break through. So if they don't want to talk to you, you know what I mean? You're out of luck.
Well, one of the things that is good, the primary responsibility of the city council is, of course, being the keepers of the budget and the vote on the different. But in addition to that, there are a lot of things you could bring to the table, and one of those are exactly what you're talking about. Is you could bring the transparency, you could bring pressure on the administration to bring change. I worked on the mayor's campaign, and I was a big supporter of his, and a lot of things, of course, have changed since he got in office, and I don't know what has happened or where we went, but or maybe they're elected all the time, but I don't know. Anyways, one thing, when you get there, you could see for miles. So
Yeah.
That's an old, an old thing. Once you get to the top of the hill, you could see for miles around, and then you can make changes. But that is something that we really, really, really need to look at, is how non-transparent the city has become. And I don't know if it's just recently or if it's been moving in that direction for some time,
Right.
because only in the last 4 or 5 years have I gotten involved in this, and I've seen it happening. It's not good.
Well, like I said, you were in one of the biggest corrupt things I've ever seen, in my opinion, not yours. My
Yes.
opinion, the water board and how those people on the board get appointed
Mine too.
is terrible. And
Yeah.
and now you're going into another place that is, the FBI comes in and out of there with boxes often. In the past we've seen that, and you never know what's going to happen. So, you know what? Before we wrap it up here, I want to let you have the last word, because you're running. I don't know if I'll get to talk to you again. I hope I do before November. I'll probably reach out again, but maybe, we'll see what happens. I know time flies. Why are you the best choice?
Well, whether I'm the best choice or not, I think the voters can decide that. But all I'll tell you is, I have had the experience. I've been there. I know what I want to do. I don't have any hidden agendas. I've laid it all out there. I support the small business. I support our labor unions, and I support the people of Niagara Falls. And I think that they need someone that's going to represent them for a change. And that's my big promise to the people of Niagara Falls, is I will be transparent and I will represent them for their best interest. That's all I can really promise you. I will give you my all, just like I have in every job I've ever been. I've served in the military, I've served the community, and I'd like to just continue to do that. So the voters can determine who the best 3 people are. I hope they do pick me, but we'll see what happens.
Well, Jim, thank you for being with us, and I'll be
thanks for
catching up with
having
you
me.
again. All right.
Thank you, John.
Take
It's
care,
always a
Jim.
pleasure. I
Me
appreciate
too.
it. All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Take care.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. So that was Jim Perry. He is running for Niagara Falls City Council. Next week, we will have Tracy Bax on with us for another interview with her, and see how she thinks about a lot of these same subjects, because all of them are really what the city is kind of, you guys I know you, Wade and John. I mean, this is what the city is really trapped in. You got NFR doing nothing. You've got, we talked about it on here, NFR doing nothing. The Senecas have what they have going. You have, obviously, New York State does whatever the hell it wants at Goat Island. Everything going there. It's a mess. We're a small city, right, of 48,000 with a ton of money at stake. And how do you fight New York State?
You would think $59 million could help. Hope something more than technology.
Right.
Poverty rate of 27%, more than the nation. So, $59 point something million should help.
I hope so. Yeah. I mean, Pine Avenue's got to get. I think Pine Avenue is much easier to develop than Main Street. Main Street's in and there was an article in the paper that I just couldn't even bring up because it just seemed so. It was in the Gazette. I couldn't even take it. There was there was something else too, and you'll remember this guy, John Tom Lazzardo. He wrote an article. He is an ex-city administrator for Palillo. City manager for Jake Palillo, going way back. And this guy, so out of touch, and it aggravated me. You know what he needs? This is how the city council can do better. This is how everything can do better. He thinks this is Washington, D.C., or we're in Congress or the Senate. He wants a professional legislative staff for them. Where the hell is he? Are you out of your mind? First of all, why do you need that? You read the things, and you have common sense, and if you need to research, you got a phone, you got a computer, you got everything at your disposal, right? And then you move from there. I mean, you need a professional legislative staff The hell is this?
If you were doing more than just reading bills, if you were actually out in the public, you might have a point. These public officials are anything.
And I just read the agenda the other day. You know, like I was, because you can see it online, and I'm reading it, and I'm reading what's going to happen. You know, and it's not a big freaking deal. Read it. You read it, you react. I read the thing about Memorial Parkway where they gave away what they gave to them. They lowered the assessment. It's a refund. There it is. I just told you what happened there, and I don't know. I don't think, and this has nothing to do with Jim. This is Jim. I think that he did fine today. I think a lot of our people that are running for city council beat themselves up. I think they do fine answering questions, and they do a great job. I mean, like Colin, and I'm sure Tracy will, Dante, and if the other two ever want to come on, they're welcome. And I've reached out to them, by the way, and they are coming on. It's just a matter of getting dates. So I don't want to make it sound like that. But I mean, like, they do fine. He did fine. You say what you mean, you say what you feel. But when it comes to needing, when Lizardo said that, number one, he's got to remember something, Lizardo. He's part of the problem. You know what I mean? Like, how dare he comes back and tell anyone what they're supposed to do? And in that way, you want a professional legislative staff. I understand they have that in the Senate, maybe even in probably the New York State Senate, and I'm sure they have it in, because there are huge bills. I mean, they'll get 160-page monster things. I get it, but
Big cities, it's all corporate. And there's people with big jobs.
Yeah.
It's not going to happen anytime soon.
No, why would we need? You're right. This isn't Albany. This isn't New York City. This isn't necessary. I read that agenda thing that I was been talking about. There was other little ones too. You're reading it, you react, you find out what you need to find out, you move on, you make a decision. That to me just sounds like more garbage. I'm sorry I even got into that. It just kind of aggravated me yesterday, and I wanted to bring it up to Jim, but I didn't think it would be fair because he might not have read it. And if he looked at it, he shouldn't read it. No one should read it. It shouldn't even be read. It was garbage. And for the Gazette to even print it was garbage. Why even print him? Because if they make a choice, right? They make an editorial choice. So let's go back to the future and put this guy on there. And you tell me that is whatever. It's probably not even worth our breath. But it just aggravated the hell out of me. And what we're seeing though here in our council of these three people that are coming in is they are first timers. That could be good and it could be bad. It might be good as long as they don't get corrupted by the will to win. You see what I mean? Like, don't worry about winning, worry about what's right. Then we'll be good. Because then new timers, new blood, whatever you want to call it, is probably a good thing. Because it's different names. There's different names going on there. They're names we don't know a lot of, and people we've never seen. I mean, and so if you just stay true to yourself, the six of them, then we'll be good.
But have the guts to speak up if
Right.
it's going against the people. You might not know exactly everything that's happening in Niagara Falls running for council. And when you learn, though, the last thing you do is keep quiet, because then you just turn into just like the other.
Right, because you make that decision.
They're for the people, and you got to step up.
Yeah. Yep.
Now, I mean, like that 59 million, I'd like to see some of that money used for put a crew on the afternoon shift, maybe go pick up all these mattresses.
Sure. Yes.
I got a friend that has a business, and you're dumping it right off the front of his business. Garbage everywhere. Sad.
We need to pay DPW, which you were in for 30 plus years. And Wade, I'm going to tell you, in my opinion, my father, who was involved with this stuff, but this is one thing he always said: they're important to every city. They're like they're the arteries. I mean, they're what, if there's a flood or there's a tree down, and we disrespect them over and over. We make them take all the cuts. We pay them like they're working less than Arby's. And you expect that you got 4 job openings, let's say. No one's going to come. Why would you come? I wouldn't either. There's no point of me to come down here to get a job. And that used to be, you know what? When I was younger, and I know you know this, John, if you didn't go to, let's say you didn't go to college and you weren't like a lawyer, doctor, whatever, working for the city was a big deal. Like, okay, this is pretty good. all right, I'm going to live I can have a middle class life. I'm not going to be wealthy, but I'm going to do okay. Now, if you go work there, I'm telling you, they might as well bring you right down to 10th Street and say, here's the food stamp thing. If you have kids, you can't. It's pathetic, and I don't know. I'm just talking, but I hope the city council people that get in there remember that because, and I won't let them forget. I guess if they even listen, but I know some people on that council have forgotten, and the current ones now. But anyways, it's time. I should probably get this wrapped up. Let me go to my numbers that I read every week. There we go. The YWCA. The YWCA is an incredible place. If you've been sexually assaulted in your life as a child, currently, you were abused in, sexually in any way like that, call 433-6714 in Niagara County, 433-6714. There is counselors standing by 24 hours a day. They will do counseling sessions with you over the phone, so you don't even have to leave your house, which is beautiful because sometimes I know people that have had that unfortunate thing happen to them. They it's tough. There's a lot of anxieties and stuff happening. There's also, and we had on last week the coordinator of rape crisis, and I can't remember her name right now, unfortunately. Rachel Sandal Sacco. Yes, and she was on, and she's an advocate. And what she does is she actually I personally was involved with her. She took Robin to the police station. She will go with you if you're a victim, survivor, and bring you to the hospital, to wherever you need to go. So remember, 433-6714. Please don't forget it if that's happening to you. If you're living outside of the Niagara County area, you have one in your county. Guaranteed. And if you don't, there's one really nearby, right nearby. Last night in the Olympics, we learned a lot about mental health with Simone Biles. And, she also was molested and raped by that Nasser, Larry Nassar, whatever his name was, the doctor from Michigan State. And he raped a ton of young girls. They were underage. And last night, she needed a mental health break. And that was because who knows what's going, there's anxieties, there's everything going on. She had pressure, obviously, being the biggest thing at the Olympics. So the reason why I bring that up is 1-800-662-4357. 1-800-662-4357, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. If you have an issue, you saw Simone last night if you watched the Olympics, and everyone has these issues. Of course, you could have bad thoughts. You could have, anxieties, just you don't want to get up and go. You don't want to do it no more, maybe. Maybe you just don't feel like it. Maybe it just is getting to be too much. Call them. They're there. They will then definitely bring you into somewhere in Niagara County. Next to your home, or if you're out of Niagara County, I don't know why I keep saying that because you're listening all over. Call that number. It's all over. It's for the entire country. So next week we will have Tracy Bax. We'll do another candidate interview, and then after that we got facial recognition. What's his name, Wade? I'm sorry, I gotta remember. It's rude that I always forget.
His name's Connor Hoff.
Connor Hoffman will be with us, lawyer.
Had an excellent report with MTV News that I'm sure we're going to be bringing up. He's an aspiring lawyer from Michigan State, so he'll be visiting us at the virtual
from up there, huh?
Yeah, from out there.
We got to talk about Ohio State maybe and stuff. The Buckeyes, yeah.
Yeah, in there already.
Right.
But I'm excited for him, and that's once again on the 11th.
Yeah, and then on August 5th, we got a special show.
Yeah,
we'll let you know the time and date of this show. We know the date, but we'll let you know the time that we'll be doing it. We're not sure yet. We'll let you know shortly here. Definitely next week. Yes.
What it's going to be about.
We're going to have an update on Nick D'Angelo's case. We know that. We're going to have some people in here that were in here before. We're just going to have an update. Well, you'll. It's something we need. We had a great show with Kay, our friend Kay, who came out on June 2nd about what happened to her at Niagara Wheatfield School. She's going to come back. We'll have Noelle here. We're all going to talk about what has happened since, because we haven't talked since. So we'll get an update on everything, Child Victims Act, all that stuff. But that's coming up. The 18th, I think, is Dante Miles. And the 25th is my friend and our good friend, Keith Lindsay, will be with us. He was wronged, no doubt about it. They stole a house from him, the city of Niagara Falls, and we're going to talk about that. I can't wait to get into that.
We're going to show you all the proof, too.
Yeah, we got it. Yeah.
We have all the-
Yeah, we got it. We got all the it'll be easy. There's no reason they should just make him whole. They better give him a house, is what they got to do.
It's on the 25th.
25th. So we got a lot going on, and you know what? It's time for me to go because I could talk all night, and I know Wade and these guys back here, he does a great job producing. John, Goal Getters, of course, on Friday. We'll be back, and I'll see you guys.